Something very important is bound to happen to the crypto market in the next couple of days. Now, for all of you that do not know, there's a very important Fed meeting coming up in 2 days from now on the 23rd that may obviously cause some massive volatility for the crypto market. However, that's not everything. We also have the Ethereum founder Vitalik Buterin, who literally said something important is about to happen. Now, I believe he deleted his tweets about it. He basically said, "I'm hearing through the grapevine that something important is about to happen. Please recognize the fact that my elite social connections to people who are already early to know things make me cool. And please help me validate my self-image of coolness." Now, I think this was just a joke from the way that he wrote it, right? It could have meant something. I'm not so sure exactly if the tweet is still fine or not. It potentially just has to do with this narrative of saying, hey, something very crazy is about to happen, and then not elaborating on things. However, it's got people quite concerned, as there's obviously a couple of different factors that come into play. We've had CZ, the CEO of Binance State, basically paraphrasing, but he basically encouraged people to potentially wait out this crypto volatility before getting a heavy entry. We've also obviously got the wake of the whole FTX situation, where a lot of other companies might fall because of it. We've seen, for example, Genesis not being able to raise enough money, and so it's basically going to fall, and what are the consequences of that going to be? And we also have all the concerns for things like Tether. The FUD regarding Tether has been extremely high over the last couple of weeks, and so that is also very interesting to watch. And so when a person this credible says something big is about to happen, even though it's a little bit cryptical, a little bit of a joke, well, people don't take that quite lightly. I'd say even that people might look at this and think, maybe he's referring to the FTX hacker that's about to dump tens of thousands of Ethereum, because he said this at 2 a.m. and at 9 a.m., 7 hours later, there were massive dumps. And again, right now, what's really going on? You guys got to understand this. There's a massive amount of talks right now in the crypto community about some bigger conspiracies. I don't want to say that all these things are based upon nothing but, speculative pieces, but I have to admit, a lot of this is just tied together pieces that are very, very strange. Guys, before we move on though, make sure that you press the like button on this video. I think we can easily get to 500 likes. Does it mean something? No, I don't think so. It just shows me you support the channel. That's it. So make sure you press that button. Now, there's a lot of interesting theories floating around right now. And let me elaborate one to you guys right now that I think is most prominent, most interesting. There was a really interesting post. I say interesting so much because it is. A little while ago about Sam Bankman-Fried's lawyer, Paul Weiss, who also represents one of Ripple's main guys, Chris Larsen, in their SEC lawsuit, dropped him as a client. It's been speculatory that they dropped him because he either talked to the people that he shouldn't have talked to, went to the public even though he shouldn't have done, or potentially because he was hiding stuff that later on came to either the public or to the lawyer, or potentially because the first time that Sam Bankman-Fried went to them, it was looking one way, and then after time moved on, the whole situation looked different, and it was too much of a representing the bad guy type of situation, where you're basically representing a fraudster, they might have thought, and they didn't want to hurt their reputation like that. It's possible. Now, you guys also have to understand another narrative that's been pushed throughout the Twitter realm, and Twitter is crazy on this. It's that this whole lawsuit dropping was not forced, but it was mostly because of the political connections. Again, right now what could have happened was Sam Bankman-Fried got put in a massive setup, or is the leader of this setup, or was just involved in a game way above his head, being a young, influential individual. Paul Weiss saw through a little bit of the charade and knew defending this would most likely cause a lot more trouble for them, as Paul Weiss is a really reputable firm, really well out there, and it could basically had two things. One is it got blocked from the higher ups, where they basically said don't support this guy, or two, they didn't want to mess up all this political drama, they didn't want to be involved. As you guys understand, Kevin McCarthy used FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried stolen money to defeat conservative in 2022, which destroyed the so-called red wave. I don't want to go too deep into this, except for saying there's a ton of speculation that this is a way bigger political battle than you might meet right now, that your eyes might see. You got to understand Joe Biden, he got massively funded by Sam Bankman-Fried. And right now, US President Joe Biden leads critical call for global Bitcoin and crypto regulation after FTX collapse. Again, we want to know exactly what were the discussions that they had with FTX before. Why did this all of a sudden change? Is it because people lost their money? Is that really so? Or was this all a plan from the get-go? Or can this only be done now, since now the whole FTX middle connection with Sam Bankman-Fried as a big donor is now gone and out of the way, and now they can finally start hunting it, and Sam Bankman-Fried was basically the gatekeeper, and in that sense was actually a really good guy. Now, one interesting thing I found was something to do with his upbringing. Sam Bankman-Fried's mom once wrote an essay about fixing problems rather than assigning blame when something goes terribly wrong, which again might all relay back to this why the lawyer dropped him. Maybe it's so where Sam Bankman-Fried is like, well, let's just look at how we can fix the problem. I didn't really do anything wrong, It's like, well, let's just see what we can do to make customers whole. Which can also be seen in the way in which he was tweeting quite recently, right? In his whole charade over on Twitter. He doesn't really say, hey, guys, I messed up completely. Most of it is like, well, I got the wrong information. We were overconfident. And as far as my little control F can find, it only says, I'm really sorry that things ended up as they did, not, hey, guys, my bad. I'm completely sorry, you guys. I'm so stupid in the brain. No, it just basically says, here's what happened, It was a logical sequence of information, a logical sequence of wrong information, bad results, more wrong information, worse result, more wrong information, and more hiding of things, worst result. That's kind of how it ended up, and he's just like, hey, you know what? Here's what happened. You don't need to know too much. Here's how we can fix it. And that's like the start of things. And later on, he went to elaborate on things. But mostly it comes down to, here's the information that we had. And again, we can fix this, or how should we go about the next couple of steps? Maybe that all has to do with his upbringing of not being able to say sorry, but just going on about, hey, let's fix the problem instead of seeing who was wrong or what went wrong. Even though he does explain what went wrong, but I guess not to assign blame. Because I don't really see any explanation about who exactly made this mistake. I just see hey, there was some wrong information somewhere, because this is, again, literally, as it turned out, not, I had it wrong, or the information was wrong that I received, or I portrayed the wrong information to investors, or anything like that. As it turned out, I was wrong. Leverage wasn't $5 billion, it was 13. But we still don't know exactly where it went wrong. Was he, again, you can understand he was wrong, but because of what, Because he just read the charts? I was like, oh, wait a minute, this 5... Oopsie, it's actually a 13. He doesn't have 5 billion actually, it's 13. It's just, as it turns out, poof, inside your head. What exactly is that supposed to mean? We still don't understand how you can make this grove of a mistake. How can you mistake 5 billion for 13 billion? That's not a small mistake. Now, to not dram on too much about all this negativity, there's a couple interesting pieces. And again, guys, make sure you press that like button if you're enjoying the daily crypto news. Coinbase custody have actually reaffirmed that the assets underlying Grayscale's investment products are secured. That's a very good thing. There is right now a lot of fear about Grayscale also going bust, but that's not the case, all right? As of this point, things are looking really good for them, and even though we just have to believe their words for it, I do believe them as of this point. There's some other interesting news. JP Morgan has officially filed a trademark for a crypto wallet. That's big news. You can go left, you can go right, but this is the right way forward. Hey! Then again, JP Morgan is kind of sneaky with all of this, kind of dissing the crypto space left and right over on their mainstream media, and that's because they have so many analysts. Some of them are really bullish on crypto, some of them are really bearish. They can tackle both sides, they can support both sides. In the meantime, they're building on this crypto space like crazy. Don't let yourself be fooled. And then there was, again, something pretty interesting right here. Stuart Alderwood of Ripple. The SEC has not labeled XRP as security and does not even have the power to do so. To be a little bit more specific, there's a guy, Jeff Roberts, who said, fresh off of its SBF puff piece, the New York Times goes easy on Gary Gensler. From an article, I quote, inside a crypto nemesis campaign to reign the industry, about Gary Gensler. But they go pretty easy on him. And then Stuart Alderwood, he has a reply, said, to be clear, the SEC hasn't labeled XRP as security, nor does it have the power to do so. One judge puts it this way. The SEC can only ask the question, and the court ultimately answers. And that's obviously the thing that Gary Gensler has to deal with right here. They can't just assert, or they can literally assert that it is a security, but they can't make that a fact. They can just question. And from that perspective, we really can't say Gary Gensler is doing too much wrong. You can always ask the question, is XRP a security? That's completely fine. The wrongdoing comes in saying, we think it's a security for these reasons, And then nobody seems to understand those reasons, and nobody seems to think it makes sense, and then them standing by that. How it should have gone was this. Gary Gensler looks into XRP being a security, asks the question, is XRP a security? The people come up with their defense, the people come up with their arguments, and Gary Gensler's like, you know what? This is not my field, because we are about, Securities and Exchange Commission. This is not a security at all. We see that quickly. Let some other entity take over, like, for example, the CFTC or potentially the OCC, the Office of the Controller of the Currency. Just not the SEC, because it doesn't make a lot of sense. Again, to kind of crawl back a little bit, Gary Gensler, in our opinion, is going for a power grab, trying to also make cryptos fall under the category of securities, just to have a bigger jurisdiction. It literally doubles the amount of power that he has if crypto falls under there. Even if cryptos eventually get to this current crypto token security type of status, it would then again fall under the SEC's jurisdiction, which would be amazing for his power, and we want that exact fact to be investigated. Obviously, Gary Gensler does not agree. He thinks he's protecting the people. But how can you protect the people if you're causing them moral losses and tens of thousands of people are standing up to say that? And when literal companies come to the court to express it too, you're noticing the lack of support on your side, right? To explain, Ripple had 14 different entities support them in the Ripple versus SEC lawsuit summary judgment briefs, and the SEC only had one. And that just showcases how stupid this lawsuit really is. But again, I want to kind of leave it at that for now. Guys, looking at it again and again, I think I should have actually given this tweet a little bit more credit by saying, Vitalik is actually saying, I'm hearing through the grapevine that something important is about to happen, purely as a little fun piece of what other people are doing, calling out their authority to say something crazy is about to happen because they have connections without necessarily any substance. Paul Graham, whom he's calling out, was obviously not that happy about it, but you can see right here, Daniel Got Hits explained, for anyone who's confused, Vitalik is basically mocking the guy, because he said, a person I know for more than 10 years who I consider trustworthy is convinced the crypto economy will shortly experience systemic risk. I don't know anything concrete, but if it were exposed, I would be concerned, which basically is a whole big nothing burger. And last but not least, if you're wondering what you have to be kind of on the watch out for, a couple of different things: jobless claims, manufacturing PMI, consumer sentiment, and the Fed FOMC minutes, all on Wednesday. I'd say as a last little piece, look out for that, as a lot of interesting things are going to be coming out shortly. And yeah, I've been looking at a lot of other different crypto news. Guys, of course, I'm behind this freaking Twitter all day just looking for different pieces, looking at all these different data aggregators, looking at everything. And all I'll say for right now is make sure you press the subscribe button, because that way you can press the notification button, and then you can always tune in whenever I post a video that is urgent. So make sure you have the notification button on, and that was it for right now.